So here's a demonstration of our ammo pouches and belt. On one side we got 3 9mm mags. Other we got an AK-47 mag. You can see how this would fit on and work. You can pull stuff out of the pouch with no problem. Reload. So this is a viable option. And basically you put it on like you would a Chinese web gear. You put it on and you button it in the back. So this is a viable option. This is our sling pack. This is how it would mount on. This seam would be sewed shut. You'd have material on this side. And then when you turn around, you'd also have material on the back. You can see how this is sitting. We could actually put another one here. So this is how your sling pack would be worn. So you can see both of these items are viable. If you're in the SHTF and you got no resources, this is how you can walk out. This is how you can carry things. You can equip a lot of people for just labor. Today we're going to continue with our series on low and no cost survival weapons. Now you're looking at a pair of old work pants and you're going to ask yourself, what does this have to do with low cost weapons? If you're utilizing low cost weaponry, it goes to say that you probably can't afford to go out and buy a lot of web gear or a backpack. So what I'm going to do is show you a way to make a no-sew ammunition pouch in web gear assembly, and how to make a sling pack that will go over your neck and shoulder that you can carry your equipment in. Now this is not an ideal solution, but it is a usable solution. And what we're going to do is use this old pair of jeans to make both. We're going to make a ammunition carrying belt with pouches, and we're going to make a sling pack. So what I'm going to do is take a red marker and we're going to lay it out. Now the first thing that you have to realize is for the ammunition carrying web gear assembly, you're going to use the back pockets of the jeans as ammo pouches, not the front. So we're going to turn this over and then mark it up. Now what we're going to do is come over here and we're going to utilize these two back pockets as our main ammunition carriers. And what you find is you're going to think that this pouch is too big. But you can actually, if you have sewing skill, whether by hand or machine, you can sew a limiting stitch down here to make 2 pockets for handgun ammo. And you can stitch across this away to limit the depth of the pouch. So you have a lot of latitude here. Now, if we want to use this one pair of pants to get an ammunition carrier and a sling pack, what we're going to do is sacrifice these side pockets. If all you need is an ammunition belt, or you have a lot of recyclable pants, you can come in here and cut these pockets out and move them up here on your belt once you get it cut out and sew them on there. So if you're going to take the no-sew approach, what we're going to do is utilize these 2 pockets. This will be the front or side of your ammunition carrier. And what I like to do is cut on seams. So if we cut on seams, that reduces our problem with fraying and the material coming apart. That way you don't have to sew anything. Now, the one thing I don't like about these jeans is on the front, you have one point of attachment for your belt loops. And what I like to do is include the belt loops on here so I can add a belt to my ammo carrier, or you can add a pair of regular suspenders to it if the weight starts getting heavy. So that's how you can complete your web gear assembly. You can add a pair of regular trouser suspenders and a belt to it. You can attach things to your belt, and you can actually sew more pouches on this if you choose to. And if you have good sewing capacity, or you have the time to hand stitch, what I would recommend is using cargo pants. Because if you have big cargo pockets here, you can cut them out and you can sew them onto the front of this and add to the amount of pockets and pouches you have on your belt. So what I'm going to do is cut around here. If you want to sew a pouch here, you can leave this here, but what I'm going to do is cut it out. We'll come up here. I'm going to cut these pockets off, and what I'm doing is I'm going to come over to these seams on the edge. So I'll cut this out on the back of these jeans. Then I'll come around to the front, and what you find is these pockets are not very good. So usually people cut those off. If you choose to keep these pockets, what you'll want to do is come down here and cut below the pocket and sew the bottom of the pocket to here and finish these seams. But I'm going to eliminate this. Now I want to keep my belt loops, so I'm going to kind of come across here. So this is going to be the cut for my ammo pouch. Then what we're going to do when we get that cut is we're going to utilize this part to the bottom of the zipper to make our sling pack. So we're going to make a cut here and cut that off. This will be our ammo carrier, and this will be our sling pack. Once we get the parts cut out, I'll show you how you will have to sew the sling pack in several ways to do that, depending on what you want to accomplish. So I'll go ahead and cut this out, and then we'll look at the pieces. So now we've cut out the two pieces, and what we did here is I just left two big pockets on here. I left the hammer hook on here. So what we've done is done all the rough and fine cuts, and I've left two pouches on here. These are the back pockets, and on here you can see I cut on the seam and left that in. On the front here, what I did is I wove around the belt loops. You can come in and finish sew that if you want, or you can leave more material on it. Just depends on what you want to do. You need to make sure you leave the belt loop on it so you can take it apart and put it together. And what I'll remind you is either the button goes on the side or it goes behind you. And this is an easy cut and no sew ammunition pouch. And what you can do is later on you can sew additional pouches here. You can sew additional pouches on the back, whatever you want to do. And this is free form. You can do it any way you want to. It's your equipment. You can make it however you want, and you can customize the size of these pouches. So we have options here. We can take and probably fit two Mini 14 or AR-15 mags in here. We can sew a seam right here. And if you want the mag to sit up a little bit, you can actually sew a seam here. That way your magazine, you can limit the depth, because right now it's kind of sitting down in there. If you want it a little higher, you could just come and sew a seam right here. Now this is also sufficient for an AK-47 mag. You could come in here and you could actually sew a stitch like this to give you a little more tension to hold the mag in. Now, if you've got submachine guns or handguns, you can do multiples. You could come in here and sew the seam in. You could have two mags in here if you wanted. You could turn them sideways like this, and you could get three in here probably. Now, with a handgun magazine, what I would do is set it here and then stitch along here so that it doesn't go all the way deep in your pocket. And you can also sew a seam here, and that way you kind of lock it in. So it's up to you. It depends on your sewing skill, how much time you have, how many people you need to equip. And what you can think about is this is a good way to make equipment for your support personnel, auxiliary personnel, people that are doing guard duty, people that are not your main security effort. Now, if you have to, you can outfit your security people with this also. So here's some ideas. This costs you nothing but your time. You can take an old pair of pants and you can do this with it. Now, what I would like to tell you is one tip. If you wear size 40, I would go to the thrift shop or go through the stuff and buy size 42 pants to make this out of. That way it'll go around your existing belt and pants. So when you're making these, the best way to do it is make it 2 inches bigger in the waist than the clothes you wear. And as a reminder, you can use suspenders on this, you can use a belt on it. So it gives you a lot of flexibility for basically no or low cost. Now, for our sling pack, usually I like to leave more material here. Due to this particular pair of pants, I couldn't do that. Because normally what I would do is leave this amount of material on here too. And that would give me a little bit more room in the pack. So what you're going to do is come here, spread this, and you would fold this under, do a final trim, and you would sew across here either by hand or machine. You come across the crotch, do the same thing here. Once you've closed the bottom up, then what you would do is take your pants and fold it like this, and you would come here and sew this together. That way it produces a sling, and you would put this area here over your neck and your shoulder, and this would lay against your hip, and this would give you a sling pack that you loaded from up here. So with this sewed together, you would have 2 openings in your pack, and you would just throw this over your shoulder and you could carry it. If you have a lot of people, a lot of refugees, and they need to go a long way, you can carry a lot of food, personal equipment, and small items in a sling pack like this. And if you're not using it, you can roll it up and store it away. Now, the good thing about this is if you have 2 pair of pants, you can make 2 sling packs, where one over the right shoulder, one over the left shoulder, and you can carry an incredible amount of food, material, equipment, forage stuff, whatever it is you want to do. Now, you can customize this. If you're not going to make a ammunition belt, you can cut all these pockets off of the pair of jeans you have, and you could actually sew them onto your sling pack. So you have a lot of flexibility here. The more material you have to work with, the more exotic, the more capacity you can sew onto here, and the more you can customize it. So you can basically take these materials, and if you have a lot of people with time on their hands and just a little bit of basic skill, you can make ammunition pouches, web gear, you can make a sling pack or 2. Now, when you look at what's left after you cut, you have a lot of scrap material here you can use. So you can use a lot of these flat parts if you want to make covers that sew over your pockets. And then you can actually utilize a lot of the side pockets that we cut off of the jeans. You can use these pockets. You can sew them onto your sling pack also. So there's a lot of flexibility here in possibilities, just depending on your imagination. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some threads, and I'll talk a little bit about the threads that you can use. So I'm back at my workbench, and I like to use the older 60s and 70s era sewing machines. I have several of them. And then I also have a Chinese shoe patching machine that's modeled on a Singer. With the Chinese shoe patching machine, you can make all kinds of web gear. You can sew boots, shoes. You can sew stuff using pieces of tire, rubber. So this is a 10 amp version of the Kenmore sewing machine. This one is actually a heavy duty model. And you can, with the Kenmore series, you can have a very versatile all mechanical machine. This one does not have electronics in it or computers, but it is electric powered. And you can buy these very cheap. You can maintain them yourself. There's plenty of parts for them, and they don't break down like the modern computerized machines. Now, one thing I want to show you are blue jean buttons. These do not take sewing skill to insert. You can use these to make covers for your pockets, and basically you cut a hole in the material, you have a threaded back, and it screws together. These are available on Amazon very cheaply. It gives you a rapid way to make pockets. If you have a ammo carrying belt like we made and it's too big, you can actually put multiple buttons on it, so you can make it longer or shorter if you choose. You can also have it so it fastens 2 buttons so it's more secure. So that's an option. Now, I use a lot of industrial thread for different things. This is upholstery thread. It's thinner, but it's extremely strong. This is a good material for doing projects like we're talking about. I use this a lot for repairs. I use a lot of very large gauge thread. You can get this from Hobby Lobby. I haven't seen stuff this big at my local Walmart, but in your area they may have it. I use a lot of this material for repairs and making things. It's very strong, it's big. If you use the larger size hobby needles, it's easy to thread these, even if you wear bifocals like I do. Now, another thing you can do on Amazon is you can buy thread. This is Chinese made thread. This particular thread is blue jean thread. So it matches the fabric material, and it's also a lot stronger than your average thread. And you can see here it comes in all kinds of blue jean colors. I buy a lot of this stuff and use it. And you can get 10-12 rolls very cheaply on Amazon delivered to your door. And if you're making stuff now, you can match the color of your material. In SHTF, I don't think anybody's going to care if the thread matches or not. But this is a bulk purchase of thread that you can get on Amazon, and it provides you a lot of material. You could sew thousands and thousands of stuff with just this one box of thread. So here's a demonstration of our ammo pouches and belt. On one side we got 3 9mm mags, other we got an AK-47 mag. You can see how this would fit on and work. You can pull stuff out of the pouch with no problem. Reload. So this is a viable option. And basically you put it on like you would a Chinese. So basically you put it on like you would a Chinese web gear. You put it on and you button it in the back. This is our sling pack. This is how it would mount on. This would be sewed shut. You'd have material on this side. And then when you turn around, you'd also have material on the back. You can see how this is sitting. We could actually put another one here. So this is how your sling pack would be worn. and you can make these as loose or as tight as you want. Now, what you'll find is if you have larger guys, you're going to have pants that are in the 30 to 34 inch length, because your inseam determines how much room you have inside of your sling pack. And then up here, you just put stuff in. Fits in here and it slides down. So this is a very primitive pack, but it's extremely effective. You can carry a whole lot of weight. If you carry 2 of them, you double your load and it distributes it on both sides of your body. So I hope this is useful for you and your group. So you can see both of these items are viable. If you're in the SHTF and you got no resources, this is how you can walk out. This is how you can carry things. You can equip a lot of people for just labor. So just a few thoughts and ramblings on things you can do to save money. Please share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.